The Lotus Sutra, Chapter 10, The Expounder of the Dharma. Thereupon the Bhagavat, by addressing Bodhisattva Vaisajyaraja, Medicine King, through him addressed 80,000 Mahasattvas, saying, O Vaisajyaraja, in this assembly do you see innumerable humans and non-humans, such as Devas, Naga kings, Yakshas, Gandharvas, Asuras, Garudas, Kinnaras, Mahoragas, monks, nuns, laymen and laywomen, those seeking the Shravaka vehicle, the Pracheka Buddha vehicle, and the Buddha path? If in the presence of the Buddha any beings such as these hear a single verse or line of the Lotus Sutra, and thereupon have even one thought of rejoicing in it, I will bestow upon them my prediction that they will attain highest complete enlightenment. The Buddha addressed Vaisajyaraja, saying, if after the parinirvana of the Tathagata, any being hears even a single verse or line of the Lotus Sutra, and thereupon has even one thought of rejoicing in it, I will bestow upon them the prediction that they will attain highest complete enlightenment. If there is anyone who preserves, recites, explains, or copies even a single verse of the Lotus Sutra, or who respects this sutra as if it were a Buddha, or who reverently offers it various flowers, perfumes, necklaces, fragrant ointment, scented powders, burning incense, canopies, flags, banners, clothing or music, or who simply honors it with his palms pressed together, know, O Vaisajyaraja, that this person has already paid homage to tens of myriads of kotis of Buddhas of the past. Such people have completed their great vow in the presence of all the Buddhas, and yet they have been born as humans out of their compassion for sentient beings. O Vaisajyaraja, if anyone should ask you what kind of sentient being will become a Buddha in the future, you should inform them that it is those of this kind who will definitely become Buddhas in the future. Why is this? If there are any sons or daughters of a virtuous family who preserve, recite, explain, and copy even a single line of the Lotus Sutra, or who pay homage to this sutra with various offerings of flowers, perfumes, necklaces, scented powders and ointments, burning incense, canopies, flags, banners, clothing, or music, or who honor it with their palms pressed together, such people should be respected by the entire world. They should be revered in the same way as the Tathagata is revered. Know that these people are great bodhisattvas, who are to attain highest complete enlightenment. Out of their compassion for sentient beings, they wish to be born among them in order to expound and explain the Lotus Sutra far and wide. How much more to be honored are those who completely preserve the entire sutra and pay homage to it with various offerings. O Vaisajyaraja, you should know that after my parinirvana, these people will set aside the rewards of their pure karma and be born in the troubled world out of their compassion for sentient beings, and in order to expound this sutra far and wide. After my parinirvana, if there are any sons and daughters of a virtuous family who expound even a single line of the Lotus Sutra in private to even a single person, they should be acknowledged as the ambassadors of the Tathagata. They have been dispatched by the Tathagata and carry out the Tathagata's work. As for those who extensively teach among the common people, know that they are yet greater ambassadors. O Vaisajyaraja, if there are erring people during a kalpa, those with troubled thoughts who always disparage the Buddha in his presence, their fault is nonetheless slight. Yet if there are those who disparage the laity, or ordained people who recite the Lotus Sutra even with a single evil word, their fault is extremely grave. O Vaisajya, know that those who recite this Lotus Sutra adorn themselves with the ornaments of a Buddha. This means that they will carry the Tathagata on their shoulders and pay him homage wherever they go. They should be respected, revered, honored, and praised wholeheartedly, with palms pressed together, through offerings of flowers, perfumes, necklaces, scented powders, ointments, burning incense, canopies, flags, banners, clothing, delicious food, music, and the best offerings that people can make. They should have heavenly jewels scattered upon them and offered to them. Why is this? Because these people joyfully expound the Dharma, and those who hear it, even for an instant, will fully attain highest complete enlightenment. Thereupon the Bhagavat, wanting to elaborate on the meaning of this further, spoke these verses. Those who want to abide in the Buddha path and perfect the wisdom of the self-generated one should always diligently pay homage to those who preserve the Lotus Sutra. Those who want to quickly attain omniscience should hold to this sutra and pay homage to those who preserve it. Know that anyone who preserves the Lotus Sutra is an ambassador of the Buddha, who feels compassion for sentient beings. Those who preserve the Lotus Sutra were born here in this world, withholding themselves from the Pure Land out of their compassion for sentient beings. Know that such people are born where and when they will. They are born in this troubled world to extensively expound the highest Dharma. Such expounders of the Dharma should be revered, with offerings of divine flowers, perfumes, heavenly jeweled clothing, and exquisite celestial jewels. Those who preserve this sutra in the troubled world after my parinirvana should be paid homage with palms pressed together, just as one pays homage to the Bhagavat. These heirs of the Buddha should be revered with delicious food, various delicacies, and a variety of clothing, in the hope of hearing the teaching, even for an instant. If in the future there is anyone who preserves this sutra, I will dispatch him to the world of humans to carry out the Tathagata's task. If throughout one entire kalpa there is anyone with erring thoughts who always disparages the Buddha with an angry countenance, the consequences of his grave errors will be incalculable. If there is anyone who speaks a hostile word, even for an instant, about those who recite and preserve this Lotus Sutra, his fault will be even greater. If throughout one entire kalpa there are people seeking for the Buddha path who praise the Buddha in my presence with incalculable numbers of verses and with palms pressed together, the merits they attain will be immeasurable, because of praising this Buddha. If there are people who praise those who preserve the sutra, their merit will be even greater. You must pay tribute to those who preserve the sutra throughout 80 kotis of kalpas, with the best objects, sounds, fragrances, flavors, and materials. If you are able to hear the teaching even for a moment, after having paid tribute in this way, you will then become delighted, thinking, I have now attained great benefits. O Vaisajya, I now tell you that I have taught many sutras. Among these sutras, however, the Lotus Sutra is the utmost and best. Then the Buddha spoke further to Bodhisattva Mahasattva Vaisajya, saying, There are immeasurable thousands of myriads of kotis of sutras I have taught in the past, which I teach now, and which I will teach in the future. Among them, however, this Lotus Sutra is the most difficult to accept and to understand. O Vaisajya Raja, this sutra is the treasure house of the hidden essence of all the Buddhas. It must not be distributed or heedlessly bestowed upon the people. Since times long past, all the Buddha Bhagavats have protected it and have never openly taught it. Moreover, people show great hostility to this sutra, even in the presence of the Tathagata. How much more so after the parinirvana of the Tathagata? O Vaisajya Raja, you should know that after the parinirvana of the Tathagata, those who copy, preserve, recite, and revere this sutra, and expound it for the sake of others, will be clothed with the Tathagata's garments, and treasured by the present Buddhas of the other directions. Such people will have the power of great faith, the power of aspiration, as well as the power of the roots of good merit. You should know that these people have dwelled together with the Tathagata, and his hand has caressed their heads. O Vaisajya Raja, wherever this sutra is taught, read, recited, copied, or wherever it is to be found, one should build a 7-jeweled stupa of great height and width and richly ornamented. There is no need to put a relic inside it. Why is this? Because the Tathagata is already in it. This stupa should be respected, honored, praised, and rendered homage with offerings of all kinds of flowers, perfumes, necklaces, canopies, flags, banners, music, and songs. If there is anyone able to see this stupa and to pay it homage and honor it, know that such a one is nearing highest complete enlightenment. O Vaisajya Raja, among the many people, either among the laity or the ordained, who practice the Bodhisattva path, if they are unable to see, hear, recite, copy, preserve, and pay homage to this Lotus Sutra, know that they are people who are not yet properly practicing the Bodhisattva path. If anyone is able to hear this sutra, such a one is skillfully practicing the Bodhisattva path. Among sentient beings seeking the Buddha path, if there are those who see or hear this Lotus Sutra, and after hearing it are drawn to it and preserve it, know that they are those who are approaching highest complete enlightenment. O Vaisajya Raja, suppose there were a thirsty man seeking water. He drills in search of water on a high plain, yet he sees only dry earth, and thus realizes that water is still far away. But he does not cease his efforts until he turns up moist earth and gradually reaches mud. Now he is sure that water must be near. The Bodhisattvas are exactly like this. If they have not yet heard, understood, or been able to practice this Lotus Sutra, they should be known as people who are still far away from highest complete enlightenment. If they hear, understand, contemplate, and are able to practice it, they realize that they are certainly nearing highest complete enlightenment. Why is this? Because the highest complete enlightenment of all the Bodhisattvas is within this sutra. This sutra opens the gate of skillful means and reveals the marks of the truth. The treasure house of this Lotus Sutra is deep and remote. No one is able to discover its depths. That is why the Buddha now reveals it, inspiring and perfecting the Bodhisattvas. O Vaisajya Raja, if there are Bodhisattvas who hear this Lotus Sutra and are confused and frightened, know that they are Bodhisattvas in whom the thought of enlightenment has only recently awakened. If there are Shravakas who hear this sutra and are confused and frightened, know that they are people who have excessive pride. O Vaisajya Raja, if there are any sons or daughters of a virtuous family who, after the parinirvana of the Tathagata, want to teach this Lotus Sutra to the fourfold assembly, how should they teach it? These sons and daughters of a virtuous family, after entering the abode of the Tathagata, wearing the Tathagata's garments, and sitting on his seat, should then extensively teach this sutra to the fourfold assembly. The Tathagata's chamber is nothing but the great compassion toward all sentient beings. The Tathagata's garments are the thoughts of gentleness and perseverance, and the Tathagata's seat is the very emptiness of all existing things. After settling among them, one should tirelessly and extensively expound this Lotus Sutra for the sake of the Bodhisattvas and the fourfold assembly. O Vaisajya Raja, I will dispatch transformed beings to other worlds who will gather the people together to hear the teaching. I will also dispatch transformed monks, nuns, laymen, and laywomen to hear this teaching. All these transformed beings will hear the Dharma, believe and accept it, and not reject it. If an expounder of the Dharma resides in a secluded place, I will then dispatch many devas, nagas, yakshas, gandharvas, and asuras to hear his teaching. Although I will be in a different land, I will periodically let the expounders of the Dharma see me. If they forget a line of this sutra, I will explain it again, enabling them to master it. Thereupon, the Bhagavat, wanting to elaborate on the meaning of this further, spoke these verses. If you wish to rid yourself of idleness, you should listen to this sutra. This sutra is rarely heard, and it is also difficult to accept. Suppose there were a thirsty man seeking for water by drilling into the earth on a high plain. He sees only dry earth and knows that water is still far away. He gradually sees the moist earth turn into mud and knows with certainty that water is near. O Vaisajya Raja, you should know that those people who do not hear the Lotus Sutra are very far away from the Buddha's wisdom. If they hear this profound sutra which brings resolution to the Shravakas, and if they hear this king of sutras and attentively contemplate it, know that these people are close to the Buddha's wisdom. If people want to expound this sutra, they should enter the Tathagata's chamber, put on the Tathagata's garments, and sit on the Tathagata's seat. They then should face the people without fear, so that they may extensively illuminate and explain it to the assembly. The Tathagata's chamber is great compassion. His garments are gentleness and perseverance, and his seat is the emptiness of all existent things. After settling among them, they should expound the Dharma. Even if, when they expound this sutra, people disparage them with evil words, or attack them with swords, sticks, tiles, or stones, being mindful of the Buddha, they should persevere. I will manifest my pure and solid form in thousands of myriads of kotis of lands, and teach the Dharma to sentient beings for immeasurable kotis of kalpas. If after my parinirvana there is someone who is able to teach this sutra, I will dispatch a transformed fourfold assembly of monks, nuns, laymen, and laywomen to pay homage to this expounder of the Dharma. I will lead the sentient beings and gather them together to let them hear the teaching. If anyone wishes to do ill to them with swords, sticks, tiles, or stones, then I will dispatch those transformed ones in order to guard them. If there is any expounder of the Dharma who recites this sutra in a secluded, tranquil place, where there is no sound of human beings, I will then manifest my body of pure light. If they forget a chapter or a verse, I will teach it to them, enabling them to master it. If anyone perfects these qualities, if he teaches the fourfold assembly, or in a solitary place recites this sutra, such a person will be able to see me. If anyone abides in a secluded place, I will dispatch devas, naga kings, yakshas, and rakshasas to be an audience to their teaching. Such people teach the Dharma willingly and explain it without obstruction, because all the Buddhas protect them. They gladden the great community of people. Anyone who closely attends an expounder of the Dharma will immediately attain the Bodhisattva path. Anyone who follows this expounder's instructions will be able to meet Buddhas equal in number to the sands of the Ganges River. Chapter 11. The Appearance of a Jeweled Stupa. At that time, there appeared before the Buddha a 7-jeweled stupa, 500 yojanas in height, and 250 yojanas both in length and width, which emerged from the ground and hovered in the air. It was adorned with various jewels, had 5,000 railings, and thousands of myriads of chambers. It was decorated with innumerable flags and banners, and hanging jeweled necklaces, and myriads of kotis of jeweled bells hung from the top. The fragrance of tamala leaves and sandalwood trees exuded from all sides of the stupa, covering the world. The banners and umbrellas were composed of the 7 jewels, such as gold, silver, lapis lazuli, mother of pearl, agate, pearl, and ruby, and they rose as high as the palaces of the world protectors of the 4 quarters. The 33 devas rained down heavenly mandarava flowers in homage to the jeweled stupa. The other thousands of myriads of kotis of humans, and such non-humans as devas, nagas, yakshas, gandharvas, asuras, garudas, kinnaras, and bahoragas, also respected, honored, revered, and praised the precious stupa by offering all kinds of flowers, perfumes, necklaces, flags, banners, and music. Then a tremendous voice issued forth in praise from the jeweled stupa, saying, "Splendid, splendid, O Shakyamuni! The Bhagavat teaches the Lotus Sutra to the great assembly, the instruction for bodhisattvas and treasured lore of the Buddhas, which is the wisdom attainable by every sentient being. Just so, O Shakyamuni Bhagavat, what you teach is true." Thereupon the 4-fold assembly saw the great jeweled stupa hovering in the air, and also heard the voice that issued forth from the stupa. They were all pleased with the teaching, and marveled at this unprecedented experience. They stood up from their seats, honored Shakyamuni with their palms pressed together, and withdrew to one side. At that time, there was a bodhisattva, Mahasattva, called Mahapratibhana, who, realizing that the devas, humans, and asuras of the entire world were puzzled, addressed the Buddha, saying, "O Bhagavat, why has this jeweled stupa emerged from the earth, and why has this voice come forth from it?" Then the Buddha told Bodhisattva Mahapratibhana, "The Tathagata is in this jeweled stupa. In the remote past, immeasurable, incalculable thousands of myriads of kotis of worlds away in the east, there was a land called Ratnavisuddha. In that land there was a Buddha called Prabhutarana. When this Buddha was practicing the Bodhisattva path in his previous lives, he made a great vow, saying, "If I become a Buddha, after my parinirvana, if the Lotus Sutra is being taught anywhere in all the lands of the 10 directions, my stupa shall appear there, so that this sutra may be heard, and in order that I may bear testimony to it and praise it with the word splendid." After the Buddha had perfected the path, and immediately before his parinirvana, he addressed the monks among the great assembly of devas and humans, saying, "After my parinirvana, anyone who wishes to pay me homage should build a great stupa. If there is anyone teaching the Lotus Sutra anywhere in the worlds of the 10 directions, this Buddha makes a jeweled stupa emerge out of the ground in that place through his transcendent powers and the power of his vow. He is in the stupa, giving praise with the words, 'Splendid, splendid.' O Mahapratibhana, the Tathagata Prabhutaratna has now emerged from the earth within his stupa, so that he may hear the Lotus Sutra and give praise with the words, 'Splendid, splendid.'" At that time, Bodhisattva Mahapratibhana spoke to the Buddha through the Tathagata's transcendent powers, saying, "O Bhagavat, we all want to see this Buddha's form." The Buddha answered Bodhisattva Mahasattva Mahapratibhana, saying, "This Buddha Prabhutaratna made a great vow, saying, 'Whenever my jeweled stupa appears in the presence of a Buddha, in order to hear the Lotus Sutra, if that Buddha wants to show my form to the fourfold assembly, he should gather into one place all his magically created forms that are teaching the Dharma in the worlds of the 10 directions. After that, my form will appear. O Mahapratibhana, I shall now gather all my magically created forms who are teaching the Dharma in the worlds of the 10 directions." Mahapratibhana spoke to the Buddha, saying, "O Bhagavat, we also strongly wish to see the Bhagavat's magically created forms, to honor and pay homage to them." Then the Buddha emitted a ray of light from the tuft of white hair between his eyebrows, and they immediately saw the Buddhas in 500 myriads of kotis of nayutas of lands in the eastern direction, equal in number to the sands of the Ganges River. In these lands, the soil was of crystal, and adorned with treasure trees and jeweled garments, and these lands were full of innumerable thousands of myriads of kotis of bodhisattvas. Jeweled drapes were hung everywhere, and were covered with jeweled nets. All the Buddhas in these lands were teaching the Dharma in most harmonious voices. They also saw immeasurable thousands of myriads of kotis of bodhisattvas, filling all the lands and teaching the Dharma to sentient beings. The other directions, to the south, north, and west, the 4 intermediary directions, and the upper and lower regions, were also illuminated by the ray of light emitted from the tuft of white hair between the Buddha's eyebrows, and they were also exactly like this. Then all the Buddhas in the 10 directions each addressed the assembly of bodhisattvas, saying, "O sons of a virtuous family, we will now go to the place where Shakyamuni is in the Saha world, and pay homage to the jeweled stupa of the Tathagata Prabhutaratna." At that time, the Saha world was immediately purified. The earth was of lapis lazuli, adorned with jeweled trees, its roads laid out like a chessboard, and bordered with golden cords. And there were no villages, towns, cities, oceans, rivers, mountains, streams, forests, or groves. very precious incense was burning. Mandarava flowers were spread everywhere on the earth, and it was covered with jeweled nets and drapes from which jeweled bells hung. With the exception of this assembly, the devas and human beings were all moved to other lands. Then the Buddhas each took one great bodhisattva as an attendant, and arrived under a jeweled tree in the Saha world. Each jeweled tree was 500 yojanas in height, and adorned with branches, leaves, blossoms, and fruits in their proper turn. Under all these jeweled trees were lion seats 5 yojanas in height, that were adorned with great jewels. The Buddhas each sat cross-legged on these seats. They sat one after another in this way, filling the great manifold cosmos. Yet the separate forms of Shakyamuni Buddha of even one direction had not all arrived yet. At that time, Shakyamuni Buddha, wanting to be able to receive all of his magically created forms, transformed and purified 200 myriads of kotis of nayutas of lands in each of the world systems in the 8 directions. There were no hells, hungry ghosts, animals, or asuras, and all the devas and humans were moved to other lands. In these transformed lands, the earth was made of lapis lazuli and adorned with jeweled trees. These trees were 500 yojanas in height, and were adorned with branches, leaves, blossoms, and fruits in their proper turn. Under every tree was a jeweled lion seat 5 yojanas in height, which was adorned with various jewels. There were no oceans, rivers, or great mountain kings such as Mount Muchilinda, Mount Mahamuchilinda, Mount Chakravada, Mount Mahachakravada, or Mount Sumeru. The lands were all made into one Buddha world throughout. The jeweled earth was level and covered everywhere with jewel-studded drapes. Banners and umbrellas were set up. Precious incense was burning, and heavenly jeweled flowers covered the ground everywhere. Then Shakyamuni Buddha again transformed and purified 200 myriads of kotis of nayutas of lands in each of the 8 directions, so that the Buddhas could come and sit. There were no hells, hungry ghosts, animals, or asuras, and the devas and humans were moved to other lands. In the transformed lands, the earth was of lapis lazuli, and adorned with jeweled trees. The trees were 500 yojanas in height, and were adorned with branches, leaves, blossoms, and fruits in their proper turn. Under these trees were jeweled lion seats that were 5 yojanas in height, and decorated with great jewels. There were no oceans, rivers, or great mountain kings, such as Mount Muchilinda, Mount Mahamuchilinda, Mount Chakravada, Mount Mahachakravada, or Mount Sumeru. The lands were all made into one Buddha world throughout. The jeweled earth was level and covered everywhere with jewel-studded drapes. Banners and umbrellas were set up, precious incense was burning, and heavenly jeweled flowers covered the ground everywhere. Then, sitting on the lion seats, under the jeweled trees, the Buddhas each dispatched their attendants with hands full of jeweled flowers to inquire after the Buddha Shakyamuni, saying, "O son of a virtuous family, you should approach the Buddha Shakyamuni on Mount Kridakutra and give him a greeting, saying, 'Are you without illness and pain, and are you full of vigor and at ease? And are the assemblies of bodhisattvas and shravakas all at ease or not?' Then, having paid homage to the Buddha by scattering him with these jeweled flowers, say this to him: 'The Buddha so-and-so wishes you to open this jeweled stupa.' All the other Buddhas dispatched their messengers like this. Then the Buddha Shakyamuni saw that his magically created forms had already gathered, and were each sitting on a lion seat. And he heard that all the Buddhas also wanted him to open the treasured stupa. Immediately rising, he hovered in the air, and the entire fourfold assembly rose and gazed attentively at the Buddha, with their palms pressed together. Thereupon Shakyamuni Buddha opened the entrance to the seven-jeweled stupa with his right finger. There was a tremendous sound, as if the bar and lock to the gateway of a large city were being pushed aside. Then immediately the entire gathering saw the Tathagata Prabhutaratna in the jeweled stupa, sitting on a lion seat, as if he were in meditation, his body whole and undecomposed. They heard him say, "Splendid, splendid. The Buddha Shakyamuni is teaching the Lotus Sutra, and I have come in order to hear it." At that time, the fourfold assembly saw the Buddha, who had entered parinirvana immeasurable thousands of myriads of kotis of kalpas ago, speaking those words. They praised this unprecedented experience and scattered heavenly jeweled flowers upon the Buddhas Prabhutaratna and Shakyamuni. Then from within the stupa, the Buddha Prabhutaratna offered half of his seat to the Buddha Shakyamuni, saying, "O Shakyamuni Buddha, please take a seat here." The Buddha Shakyamuni immediately entered the stupa and sat cross-legged on half of the seat. Thereupon the great assembly saw the two Tathagatas sitting cross-legged on the lion seat in the seven-jeweled stupa, and they each thought thus, "The Buddhas are seated far away. O Tathagata, we entreat you to use your transcendent powers so that we may be in the air together with you." The Buddha Shakyamuni immediately moved the entire fourfold assembly into the air through his transcendent powers and addressed them with a great voice, saying, "Who in the Saha world is able to extensively teach the Lotus Sutra? It is now the right time. The Tathagata will enter parinirvana before long, and the Buddha wants to transmit this Lotus Sutra to you." Thereupon the Buddha, wanting to further elaborate on the meaning of this, spoke these verses. Although the great sage, the Bhagavat, entered parinirvana long ago, he has been abiding in a jeweled stupa, and he has now come for the sake of the Dharma. Why is it that people do not strive for the Dharma? Although this Buddha entered parinirvana incalculable kalpas ago, because it is difficult to encounter, he listens to the Dharma wherever it is taught. The original vow of this Buddha was, "After my parinirvana, I will always listen to the Dharma, wherever it may be." My magically created forms, incalculable as the sands of the Ganges River, have come to hear the Dharma and see the Tathagata Prabhutaratna, who has entered nirvana. Each Buddha form, having abandoned his beautiful land, disciples, devas, humans, nagas, and ritual tributes, has come here so that the Dharma may abide forever. In order to seat all those Buddhas, I transferred immeasurable beings and purified the lands through my transcendent powers. And each of these Buddhas, seated under a jeweled tree, as lotus blossoms adorn a limpid, cool pond. Under every jeweled tree was a lion seat, on which the Buddhas sat radiating light, as a great bonfire blazes in the dark of the night. They emitted a subtle fragrance from their bodies, which filled the lands of the 10 directions. Sentient beings who smelled this fragrance were overcome with unsurpassed joy, like branches of a small tree being blown by a great wind. Through this skillful means, I enable the Dharma to abide forever. I tell the great assembly that after my nirvana, whoever can preserve and recite this sutra should now individually make a declaration in the presence of the Buddhas. Although the Buddha Prabhuta entered parinirvana long ago, through his great vow he has roared the lion's roar. The Tathagata Prabhuta, I myself and all the magically created forms who have gathered here should know this intention. O heirs of the Buddhas, whoever is able to preserve the Dharma should make a great vow so that it may abide forever. Whoever is able to preserve the teaching of this sutra will thus honor me and Prabhuta. This Buddha, Prabhuta, always roams the 10 directions in a jeweled stupa in order to hear this sutra. He also honors all the transformed Buddhas who have come here and who adorn all the worlds with light. Whoever teaches this sutra will see me, the Tathagata Prabhuta, and the transformed Buddhas. O sons of a virtuous family, each of you must carefully consider this. This is indeed a difficult matter. Make a great vow accordingly. It is not really difficult to teach all of the other sutras, the number of which is equal to the sands of the Ganges River. It is not difficult to take Mount Sumeru and throw it to another quarter over innumerable Buddha worlds. It is also not difficult to shake free the manifold cosmos with one toe and throw it far into another distant world. It is not difficult to stand on the highest summit of the world and teach the other innumerable sutras for the sake of sentient beings. However, it will indeed be difficult to teach this sutra in the troubled world after the Buddha's nirvana. It is not difficult for anyone to grasp empty space and wander around with it, but it will certainly be difficult to copy and preserve this sutra and cause others to copy it after my nirvana. It is not really difficult to put the great earth on a toenail and ascend with it to the world of Brahmas. However, it will indeed be difficult to recite this sutra, even for a moment, in the troubled world after the Buddha's nirvana. It is not really difficult to enter into the conflagration at the time of the close of a kalpa, carrying hay on your back, and yet not be burned. It will certainly be difficult to preserve this sutra and teach it to even a single person after my nirvana. It is indeed not really difficult for anyone to preserve the 84,000 treasure houses of the Dharma and the 12-fold scriptures, and teach them so that the listeners can attain the 6 transcendent powers. It will indeed be difficult for anyone to hear and accept this sutra and to ask about its meaning after my nirvana. It is not really difficult for people to do such beneficial things as teaching the Dharma and making thousands of myriads of kotis of immeasurable, incalculable sentient beings, numbering as many as the sands of the Ganges River, attain arhatship and perfect the 6 transcendent powers. It will certainly be difficult to preserve such a sutra as this after my nirvana. I have extensively taught many sutras in incalculable lands, from the beginning until now, for the sake of the Buddha path, and yet among them this sutra is the best. If anyone preserves it, he preserves the form of the Buddha. O sons of a virtuous family, those who preserve and recite this Lotus Sutra after my nirvana must now individually make a declaration in the presence of the Buddhas. It is hard to preserve this sutra. If anyone preserves it even for a single moment, I shall truly rejoice. all of the other Buddhas will do so also. Such people as these are praised by the Buddhas. They are courageous. They are persevering. They are known as those who follow the rules of good conduct and carry out ascetic practices. Subsequently, they quickly attain the highest Buddha path. Those in the future who recite and preserve this sutra are the true heirs of the Buddha and abide in the stage of purity. Those who can understand its meaning after the Buddha's nirvana will become the eyes of the world for devas and humans. Those who teach it, even for a moment, in the fearful world, will be revered by all the devas and humans. Chapter 12. Devadatta. The Buddha then addressed the assembly of bodhisattvas, and also the devas, humans, and the fourfold assembly, saying, "In the past, immeasurable kalpas ago, I tirelessly sought the Lotus Sutra. Throughout many kalpas, I always became a king and made a vow to seek highest enlightenment. My mind became irreversible. Wanting to fulfill the 6 perfections, I diligently carried out practices, unstintingly giving elephants, horses, the 7 precious treasures, countries and cities, wives and children, male and female servants, my head, eyes, marrow and brains, the flesh of my body, hands and feet, without stinginess, not even hesitating to give my own life. At that time, the lifespan of the people in the world was immeasurable. In order to seek the Dharma, I abandoned my kingdom and abdicated my throne to the crown prince. Beating a drum, I proclaimed to the 4 directions that I was seeking the Dharma, saying, I will be as a servant for the rest of my life to whosoever can teach me the Mahāyāna. At that time, there was a sage who came to this king and said, I possess the Mahāyāna teaching called the Lotus Sutra. If you faithfully obey me, I will expound it to you. Having heard the sage, the king became joyful and ecstatic, and accompanying the sage, he did everything he was asked. He gathered fruits, drew water, collected firewood, and provided meals. He even provided his own body as a bed for the sage. Yet he never tired in either body or mind, and in this way served the sage for 1,000 years. For the sake of the Dharma he served him diligently, making certain the sage never lacked for anything. At that time, the Bhagavat, wanting to elaborate on the meaning of this further, spoke these verses. I remember that in the past, many kalpas ago, although I became king of the world in order to seek the great Dharma, I was never attached to the desires of the 5 senses. Striking a bell, I declared this to the 4 directions. If anyone possesses the great Dharma and explains it to me, I will become his servant. At that time there was a sage called Asita, who came to the great king and said, I possess a subtle and true Dharma that is rare in the world. If you are able to practice it, I will explain it to you. On hearing what the sage said, the king became overjoyed. He immediately accompanied the sage and performed whatever he was asked. He gathered firewood and various fruits, and respectfully offered them whenever requested. Because he longed for the true Dharma, he never tired in body or mind. For the sake of sentient beings, he diligently sought everywhere the great Dharma. He never sought it for his own sake, nor for the desires of the 5 senses. For this reason, although a great king, he diligently sought and attained this Dharma, ultimately becoming a Buddha. That is why I now tell you this. The Buddha addressed the monk, saying, "The king at that time was I myself, and the sage was he who is now Devadatta. Through the virtuous friendship of Devadatta, I was able to become endowed with the 6 perfections: benevolence, compassion, sympathetic joy, generosity, the 32 marks, the 80 excellent characteristics, reddish gold skin, the 10 powers, the 4 kinds of fearlessness, the 4 methods of gaining trust, the 18 excellent qualities, the transcendent powers, and the power of the path. It is all due to the good and virtuous friendship of Devadatta that I attained complete enlightenment and extensively saved innumerable sentient beings." The Buddha addressed the fourfold assembly, saying, "After immeasurable kalpas have passed, Devadatta will then become a Buddha called Devaraja, a Tathagata, knower of the world, unsurpassed, tamer of humans, teachers of devas and humans, Buddha, Bhagavat. His world will be called Devasopana. At that time, the Buddha Devaraja will abide in the world for 20 intermediate kalpas, and extensively teach the true Dharma to sentient beings. Sentient beings equal in number to the sands of the Ganges River will attain arhatship. The thought of a Pratyeka Buddha has awakened in incalculable numbers of sentient beings. The thought of the highest path will awaken in sentient beings equal in number to the sands of the Ganges River, and they will become convinced of the non-arising of all dharmas and reside in the stage of non-retrogression. Then, after the parinirvana of the Buddha Devaraja, the true Dharma will abide in the world for 20 intermediate kalpas. A 7-jeweled stupa, 60 yojanas in height and 40 yojanas in both length and width, will be built for all his relics. And all the devas and humans will honor and revere this beautiful 7-jeweled stupa with various flowers, scented powders, burning incense, fragrant ornaments, ointments, clothing, necklaces, banners, flags, jeweled canopies, music, and songs. Incalculable sentient beings will attain arhatship. Innumerable sentient beings will be enlightened as Pratyeka Buddhas, and the thought of enlightenment will awaken in an inconceivable number of sentient beings, and they will reach the stage of non-retrogression. The Buddha addressed the monks, saying, "If in the future there are sons and daughters of a virtuous family who, upon hearing the Devadatta chapter of the Lotus Sutra, accept it with pure minds and without doubt, they shall not fall into the realms of hell, or to the states of hungry ghosts or of animals, but will be born in the presence of the Buddhas in the 10 directions. Wherever they may be, they will always hear this sutra. If they are born among humans or devas, they will enjoy a supreme and delightful contentment. And if in the presence of a Buddha, they will be born spontaneously in a lotus flower. At that time, in the lower region, there was a bodhisattva called Prajnakuta, who was accompanying the Bhagavat Prabhutaratna. He urged the Buddha Prabhutaratna to return to their original land. The Buddha Shakyamuni addressed Prajnakuta, saying, "O son of a virtuous family, wait for a moment. There is a bodhisattva called Manjushri. Let us meet him together and discuss the true Dharma. After that, you can return to your original land. At that time, Manjushri, sitting on a 1,000-petaled lotus flower as large as a carriage wheel, together with attendant bodhisattvas, also seated on jeweled lotus flowers, emerged spontaneously out of the ocean from the palace of the Naga king Sagara and floated in mid-air. Arriving at Mount Kucha, they descended from the lotus flowers and went into the presence of the Buddhas, where they bowed until their foreheads touched the feet of both Bhagavats. Having honored them, Manjushri approached Prajnakuta. They greeted each other and withdrew to sit at one side. Then Bodhisattva Prajnakuta asked Manjushri, saying, "Your Eminence, how many sentient beings did you lead and inspire at the palace of the Naga king?" Manjushri answered, "The number is immeasurable and incalculable. It is not possible to express it in words, nor is it possible to calculate it with one's mind. Wait a moment, and you will have proof." Before he had finished speaking, innumerable bodhisattvas emerged from the ocean, seated on jeweled lotus flowers. Arriving at Mount Kucha, they floated in mid-air. All of these were bodhisattvas who had been led and inspired by Manjushri. Those who had perfected the bodhisattva practices discussed the 6 perfections together. Those who were originally Shravakas explained the Shravaka practices in the air, and now they all practice to understand the meaning of emptiness of the Mahāyāna. Manjushri said to Prajnakuta, "Thus did I lead and inspire people in the ocean." Thereupon Bodhisattva Prajnakuta spoke these verses in praise. "O one of great wisdom, virtue and courage, this assembly and I have now all witnessed that you have led and inspired incalculable numbers of sentient beings. You have expounded the essential character of dharmas and revealed the teaching of the single vehicle. You have extensively led many sentient beings, causing them to quickly attain enlightenment." Manjushri said, "In the ocean, I always expounded only the Lotus Sutra." Then Prajnakuta questioned Manjushri, saying, "This sutra is profound and subtle. It is a jewel among sutras and rare in the world. If sentient beings diligently strive to practice this sutra, will they immediately become Buddhas or not?" Manjushri answered, "Yes, they will. There is the daughter of the Naga king Sagara, who is only 8 years old. She is wise, her faculties are sharp, and she also well knows all the faculties and deeds of sentient beings. She has attained the power of recollection. She preserves all the profound secret treasures taught by the Buddhas, enters deep meditation, and is well capable of discerning all dharmas. She instantly produced the thought of enlightenment and attained the stage of non-retrogression. She has unhindered eloquence and thinks of sentient beings with as much compassion as if they were her own children. Her virtues are perfect. Her thoughts and explanations are subtle and extensive, merciful and compassionate. She has a harmonious mind and has attained enlightenment." The Bodhisattva Prajnakuta said, "I see the Tathagata Shakyamuni, who has been incessantly carrying out difficult and severe practices for immeasurable kalpas, accumulating merit and virtue while seeking the bodhisattva path. Looking into the great manifold cosmos, there is not a single place, even the size of a mustard seed, where this bodhisattva has not abandoned his life for the sake of sentient beings. He has attained the path to enlightenment only after this. It is hard to believe that this girl will instantly attain complete enlightenment. Before he had finished speaking, the daughter of the Naga king suddenly appeared in their presence. Bowing until her forehead touched their feet, bowing until her forehead touched their feet, she withdrew to one side and spoke these verses in praise. The Buddha is deeply versed in the characteristics of good and evil, and he completely illuminates the 10 directions. His subtle and pure Dharma body is endowed with the 32 marks. With the 80 good characteristics is his Dharma body adorned. He is adored by devas and humans and honored by Nagas. There is no sentient being who does not pay him homage. Moreover, that I will attain enlightenment upon hearing him can only be known by a Buddha. I will reveal the teaching of the Mahāyāna and save suffering sentient beings. At that time, Shariputra spoke to the daughter of the Naga king, saying, "You say that you will soon attain the highest path. This is difficult to believe. Why is this? The female body is polluted. It is not a fit vessel for the Dharma. How can you attain highest enlightenment? The Buddha path is long. One can only attain it after diligently carrying out severe practices and completely practicing the perfections over immeasurable kalpas. Moreover, the female body has 5 obstructions. The first is the inability to become a great Brahma. The second is the inability to become Chakra. The third is the inability to become Mara. And the fourth is the inability to become a universal monarch, Chakravartin. The fifth is the inability to become a Buddha. How can you, with your female body, quickly become a Buddha?" Then the daughter of the Naga king presented to the Buddha a jewel worth the great manifold cosmos, and the Buddha accepted it. The daughter of the Naga king spoke to Bodhisattva Prajnakuta and the noble Sariputra, saying, "I offered a jewel, and the Bhagavat accepted it. Was that done quickly or not?" They answered, saying, "It was done extremely quickly." The daughter said, "Through your transcendent powers, watch me become a Buddha even more quickly than that." Then the assembly there all saw the daughter of the Naga king instantly transform into a man, perfect the bodhisattva practices, go to the Vimala world in the south, sit on a jeweled lotus flower, and attain highest complete enlightenment, become endowed with the 32 marks and 80 excellent characteristics, and expound the true Dharma universally, for the sake of all sentient beings in the 10 directions. Then the bodhisattvas, Shravakas, 8 kinds of devas, nagas, and so on, humans and non-humans of the Saha world, all saw in the distance that the daughter of the Naga king had become a Buddha, and was universally teaching the Dharma for the sake of the humans and devas in that assembly. They rejoiced greatly and honored her from afar. On hearing the Dharma, incalculable numbers of sentient beings became enlightened and attained the stage of non-retrogression. Incalculable numbers of sentient beings received their predictions to the path, and the Vimala world quaked in 6 ways. In the Saha world, 3,000 sentient beings attained the stage of non-retrogression, and 3,000 sentient beings, in whom the thought of enlightenment had awaked, received their predictions. The Bodhisattva Prajnakuta, Shariputra, and the entire assembly accepted and believed in silence. Chapter 13. Perseverance. At that time, Bodhisattva Mahasattva Vaisajaraja and Bodhisattva Mahasattva Mahapratibhana made this declaration in the presence of the Buddha, together with 2,000 bodhisattvas. O Bhagavat, we entreat you not to be concerned, since, after the Buddha's parinirvana, we will preserve, recite, and teach this Lotus Sutra. In the troubled world to come, sentient beings will have hardly any roots of good merit, but will have excessive pride, and will be greedy to receive offerings. They will increase their roots of bad merit, and thus will be far away from liberation. It will be difficult to lead and inspire them. Therefore we will produce the power of great patience, and recite, preserve, teach, and copy this sutra, as well as pay it homage in various ways, even willingly giving up our bodies and lives. Then in the assembly, 500 arhats who had received their predictions addressed the Buddha, saying, O Bhagavat, we also declare that in other lands we will extensively teach this sutra. Moreover, 8,000 of those who had received their predictions, including those who had more to learn and those who did not, rose from their seats and with their palms pressed together faced the Buddha and made this declaration. O Bhagavat, we also will extensively teach this sutra in other lands. Why is this? Because in the Saha world there are many erring people, with excessive pride and superficial virtue, those who are quick to anger, deceitful, and untrue. Thereupon the Buddha's aunt, the nun Mahaprajapati Gautami, with 6,000 nuns, some of whom had more to learn, and some who did not, rose from their seats and with their palms pressed together, gazed attentively at the Buddha, never turning their eyes away. Then the Bhagavat spoke to Mahaprajapati Gautami, saying, Why are you anxiously staring at the Tathagata? Are you thinking that I have not given you your prediction of highest complete enlightenment? O Mahaprajapati Gautami, I have previously said that all of the Shravakas would receive their predictions. Now, if you wish to know your prediction, I will tell you that in the future you will become a great expounder of the Dharma, taught by 68,000 kotis of Buddhas. These 6,000 nuns, some of whom have more to learn and some who do not, will all become expounders of the Dharma together. In this way, you will gradually be able to complete the Bodhisattva path and become a Buddha called Savarupa Samdarshana, a Tathagata, Arhat, completely enlightened, perfect in knowledge and conduct, well-departed, knower of the world, unsurpassed, tamer of humans, teacher of devas and humans, Buddha, Bhagavat. O Mahaprajapati Gautami, this Buddha, Savarupa Samdarshana, will give predictions of highest complete enlightenment, one by one, to bodhisattvas totaling 6,000 in number. Then the nun Yasodhara, the mother of Rahula, thought this. While giving the predictions, the only name the Bhagavat did not mention was mine. The Buddha addressed Yasodhara, saying, In the future, you will cultivate the bodhisattva practice of the teachings of hundreds of thousands of myriads of kotis of Buddhas. You will become a great expounder of the Dharma and gradually complete the Buddha path. In a land called Bhadra, you will become a Buddha called Rasmisa Tassa Hasra Paripunadvaja, a Tathagata, Arhat, completely enlightened, perfect in knowledge and conduct, well-departed, knower of the world, unsurpassed, tamer of humans, teacher of devas and humans, Buddha Bhagavat. This Buddha's lifespan will be for immeasurable, incalculable kalpas. At that time, the nun Mahaprajapati Gautami and the nun Yasodhara, together with their attendants, all rejoiced greatly at having attained such an unprecedented experience. In the presence of the Buddha, they immediately spoke in verse, saying, O Bhagavat, as a great leader, you bring ease to devas and humans. Having heard our predictions, our minds are at peace, and we are content. Having spoken this verse, all the nuns addressed the Buddha, saying, O Bhagavat, we will also extensively expound this sutra in other lands. Then the Bhagavat saw 80 myriads of kotis of nayutas of bodhisattva mahasattvas, all of whom were at the stage of non-retrogression. They had turned the irreversible wheel of the Dharma and attained the power of recollection. Arising from their seats, they went before the Buddha with their palms pressed together, and with this whole-hearted thought. If the Bhagavat commands us to preserve and teach this sutra, then we will extensively expound this Dharma exactly as the Buddha has taught. They also thought, the Buddha now keeps silent and does not command us. What should we do? Then all of the bodhisattvas, respecting the Buddha's intention and also wanting to fulfill their original vow, uttered a lion's roar in the presence of the Buddha and declared, O Bhagavat, after the Tathagata's parinirvana, we will roam throughout the worlds of the 10 directions, enabling sentient beings to copy, preserve, and recite this Lotus Sutra and to explain its meaning, practice it according to the Dharma, and remember it correctly. This will all be due to the Buddha's majestic power. O Bhagavat, we entreat you to protect us from afar while we are in other quarters. Immediately after that, all of the bodhisattvas spoke these verses in unison. We entreat you not to be concerned, because we will extensively teach in the fearful, troubled world. After the Buddha's parinirvana, we will be patient with those who are ignorant, those who disparage others with evil words, or who attack us with sticks and swords. Monks in this troubled world will have false wisdom and be deceitful. They will think that they have attained what they have not, and their minds will be full of conceit. Then there will be those who dwell in tranquil forests wearing rags with the thought that they alone practice the true path, and who look down on those who lead worldly lives. There will be those who teach the Dharma to lay people only out of greed for offerings. Yet they will be respected in the world as if they were arhats endowed with the 6 transcendent powers. The minds of such people are in error. They are always thinking about worldly matters, and they enjoy pointing out our faults, playing the role of the forest dwellers. Thus they will say such things as, all of these monks here teach heretical doctrines because they are greedy for profit. They have fabricated this sutra to deceive the people of the world, and they explain this sutra out of desire for fame. They always want to slander us in the great assembly. They slander us to the kings, ministers, Brahmins, householders, and to other monks, saying that we are evil. They say these are people of false views who teach heretical doctrines. Since we revere the Buddha, we will be patient with their wickedness. They will mockingly address us, saying, "All you Buddhas." We will be patient with these scornful words. In the troubled world of the age of the decadent Dharma, there are many fearful things. People possessed by evil spirits will scorn and slander us. But we shall wear the armor of patience because we trust and revere the Buddha, and we will persevere under these difficulties in order to teach this sutra. We will not be attached to our bodies or lives. We only desire the highest path. In the future, we will preserve what the Buddha has entrusted us with. The Bhagavat himself must know that the erring monks in the troubled world will not understand the Dharma taught by the Buddha through skillful means, according to what is appropriate to sentient beings. They will utter evil words with angry countenances, and they will repeatedly expel us and keep us away from the monasteries and stupas. There will be many evils such as this. We will all endure in these matters because we remember the Buddha's decree. If there are any people seeking this Dharma in villages or cities, we will all go there and teach the Dharma entrusted to us by the Buddha. Because we are the Bhagavat's ambassadors, wherever we go, we have nothing to fear. We will skillfully teach the Dharma. We entreat you, O Buddha, to be at ease. In the presence of the Bhagavat and all of the Buddhas who have come from the 10 directions, we make this declaration. O Buddha, you know our intentions. Chapter 14. Ease in Practice. Thereupon the Prince of the Dharma, Bodhisattva Mahasattva Manjushri, addressed the Buddha, saying, O Bhagavat, these bodhisattvas are very rare. In respectful obedience to the Buddha, they have made this great vow. In the troubled world to come, we will preserve, recite, and teach this Lotus Sutra. O Bhagavat, how can these bodhisattva mahasattvas teach this sutra in the troubled world to come? The Buddha addressed Manjushri, saying, If the bodhisattva mahasattvas want to teach this sutra in the troubled world to come, they should abide in the 4 kinds of practices. The first is to establish the sphere of their bodhisattva practice and the sphere of their relationships, and thereupon expound this sutra for the sake of sentient beings. O Manjushri, what is the sphere of the practice of the Bodhisattva Mahasattva? If a Bodhisattva Mahasattva abides in the stage of perseverance, is gentle, tranquil, non-violent, and unafraid, and furthermore, if he remains unmoved with regard to existent things, and perceives them in their true aspect, and neither acts nor discriminates, this is called the sphere of the practice of the Bodhisattva Mahasattva. What is the sphere of the relationships of the Bodhisattva Mahasattva? The Bodhisattva Mahasattva should not consort with kings, princes, ministers, and chief officials. He should not consort with heretics, Brahmins, Jains, and others, or with worldly writers, critics of poetry, materialists, or extreme materialists. Nor should he become acquainted with pranksters, boxers, wrestlers, clowns, and various jugglers, nor with outcasts and people who raise boars, sheep, chickens, and dogs, nor with hunters, fishermen, and those with evil conduct. A bodhisattva should teach such people the Dharma if they come to him, but expect nothing. Nor should a bodhisattva consort with monks, nuns, laymen, and laywomen who seek the Shravaka vehicle. Nor should he greet them. The bodhisattva should avoid their company in chambers, on roads, or while in lecture halls, and not remain with them. If they come, teach them the Dharma according to their capacities, but expect nothing. Moreover, O Manjushri, the Bodhisattva Mahasattva should expound the teaching without any thought of, desire for, or wish to see a woman's body. If a bodhisattva enters someone else's home, he should not talk to young girls, maidens, and widows. A bodhisattva should also not approach the 5 kinds of impotent men, nor be intimate with them. He should not enter someone else's home alone, and if for any reason he should enter it alone, a bodhisattva should do nothing but single-mindedly contemplate the Buddha. If he should teach the Dharma to women, he should not show his teeth when smiling, nor reveal his chest. A bodhisattva should not be intimate with them, even for the sake of the Dharma. How much less for other things? A bodhisattva should take no pleasure in keeping young disciples, shramaneras, or young boys, nor should he take pleasure in having the same teacher as them. He should always take pleasure in meditation, and in a quiet place practice to control his mind. O Manjushri, this is what is known as the first sphere of relationships. Furthermore, the Bodhisattva Mahasattvas perceive the emptiness of all dharmas in their true aspect. All things are unerring, unmoving, non-returning, irreversible, and like empty space which lacks substance. They are beyond all language. They are not produced, nor do they emerge, nor do they arise. They do not have any name or mark, and in reality they have no substance. They are immeasurable, limitless, without obstacles or obstructions. They exist only through dependent origination, arising through error. That is why I teach the permanent joy of perceiving the aspects of all existent things in this way. This is what is known as the second sphere of relationships of a Bodhisattva Mahasattva. At that time, the Bhagavat, wanting to elaborate upon the meaning of this further, spoke these verses. If, in the troubled world to come, a bodhisattva with a fearless mind wants to teach this sutra, he should enter the sphere of the bodhisattva practice and the sphere of relationships. He should always stay away from kings, princes, ministers, chief officials, dangerous pranksters, outcasts, heretics, and Brahmins. He should not consort with excessively proud scholars who are attached to scriptures of the inferior vehicle contained in the 3 baskets, Tripitaka, nor with monks who violate the precepts, with those who call themselves arhats, nor with nuns who like to joke and laugh. He should not become acquainted with lay women who are attached to the desires of the 5 senses and seek nirvana in their present lives. If these people come to the bodhisattva with good intentions, in order to hear about the Buddha path, the bodhisattva should then fearlessly teach them the Dharma without any expectations. A bodhisattva should not become intimately acquainted with widows, maidens, or impotent men. Nor should he consort with slaughterers, butchers, hunters, or fishermen who kill for profit. He should not consort with people such as those who make a living from selling meat, or from pandering prostitutes. He should never become acquainted with dangerous wrestlers, or the varieties of jugglers or courtesans. He should not teach the Dharma to a woman alone in a quiet place. When he teaches the Dharma, he should not joke or laugh. If he enters a village to beg for food, he should be accompanied by a monk. If there is no monk, he should single-mindedly contemplate the Buddha. This is what is known as the sphere of bodhisattva practice, and the sphere of relationships within these two spheres he can teach at ease. He should not practice the superior, mediocre, or inferior teachings, the conditioned and the unconditioned, or the teaching of the real and the unreal, nor should he discriminate between men and women. He should not acquire, comprehend, or perceive any phenomenon. This is what is known as the sphere of the bodhisattva practice. All dharmas are empty and without substance, impermanent, without origination or cessation. This is known as the sphere of the relationships of the wise. Through the error of discrimination, one sees all existent things as existing or non-existing, real or unreal, produced or unproduced. Being in a quiet place, the bodhisattva carries out practices to control his mind and remains as firm and unmoved as Mount Sumeru. He should regard all dharmas as being without substance, like empty space which has no firmness. All dharmas are neither produced nor do they emerge. They are immovable, non-returning, and always remain in their single character. This is known as the sphere of relationships. Any monk after my parinirvana who enters the sphere of practice and the sphere of relationships will not be disheartened when he teaches this sutra. A bodhisattva, at proper times, should enter a quiet chamber and contemplate all dharmas with correct thoughts, according to the meaning. Arising from meditation, he should reveal and expound this sutra to kings, princes, ministers, and Brahmins. Then his mind will be at ease and unafraid. Manjushri, this is the bodhisattva who firmly abides in the Dharma from the beginning, and in the world to come will be able to teach the Lotus Sutra. Furthermore, O Manjushri, after the Tathagata's parinirvana, anyone who wants to teach this sutra in the age of the decadent Dharma should abide in ease of practice. When he expounds or recites this sutra, he should not take pleasure in talking about the faults of people or of the sutra, nor should he slander other expounders of the Dharma or talk of the good and bad, strong and weak points of others. As for the Shravakas, a bodhisattva should not name them and point out their faults, nor name them and praise their virtues. Moreover, he should not feel any hatred, because if he skillfully practices ease of mind in this way, those who listen to him will not oppose his attentions. If he is asked difficult questions, he should not answer using the teaching of the inferior vehicle. He should take his explanation only from the Mahāyāna, which will enable them to attain omniscience. At that time, the Bhagavat, wanting to elaborate the meaning of this further, spoke these verses. The bodhisattva should always willingly teach the Dharma at ease, establishing his seat in a pure place. He should anoint his body with oil to cleanse himself of dirt, and put on new clean clothing. Both his outer garments and his undergarments being pure, sitting comfortably on the Dharma seat, he should teach according to the questions. If there are any monks, nuns, laymen, and laywomen, or kings, princes, subjects, officials, and commoners, using subtle ideas, he should teach them with a composed countenance. If they have difficult questions, he should answer in accordance with the meaning. expounding and illuminating it with various explanations and illustrations. Through these skillful means he should awaken the thought of enlightenment in them all, gradually benefiting them and causing them to enter the Buddha path. Ridding them of idle minds and lazy thoughts, as well as anxieties, he should compassionately teach the Dharma. He should continuously expound the teaching of the highest path, both day and night, using various explanations and incalculable illustrations. Revealing this to sentient beings, he will cause them all to rejoice. He should not expect to receive any clothing, bedding, food and drink, or medicine. He should only single-mindedly think of teaching the Dharma, gain mastery of the Buddha path, and enable sentient beings also to attain it. It is exactly this kind of offering that brings great benefit and ease. After my parinirvana, if there is any monk who is able to explain the Lotus Sutra, his mind will be free from the obstructions of jealousy, anger, and anxiety. He will also be without sorrows, and no one will slander him. He will not be afraid of being attacked with swords and sticks, and he will not be expelled from the Sangha because he abides in perseverance. The wise skillfully compose their minds in this way, and can abide in ease, as I have described above. One would not be able to fully describe the qualities of such a person through calculations and illustrations, though they lasted for thousands of myriads of kotis of kalpas. Furthermore, O Manjushri, in the future when the Dharma becomes extinct, any bodhisattva, mahasattva, who preserves and recites this sutra will not feel jealous or be deceitful, nor will he insult those who study the Buddha path by pointing out their good qualities or their deficiencies. If there are any monks, nuns, laymen, and laywomen who are seeking the Shravaka vehicle, the Pracheka vehicle, or the Bodhisattva path, a bodhisattva will not worry them, causing them to have doubts by saying, "You are very far away from the path and will never be able to attain omniscience. Why is this? Because you are negligent and idle in the path." Moreover, a bodhisattva should also not devise hollow sophistries concerning the teachings and argue about them. In him, the thought of great compassion for all sentient beings should awaken, together with the thought that all Tathagatas are compassionate fathers, and that all bodhisattvas are great teachers. He should always deeply respect and pay homage to all of the great bodhisattvas in the 10 directions. He should teach the Dharma equally to all sentient beings in accordance with the Dharma, explaining neither too much nor too little. Nor should he teach too much even to those who are deeply enthusiastic about hearing the Dharma. O Manjushri, in the future world, when the Dharma is to be extinguished, this Bodhisattva Mahasattva, having perfected the 3rd sphere of ease in practice, will not be perplexed when he teaches this Dharma. He will become acquainted with good fellow students who will recite this sutra together. He will also acquire a great following who come to hear his teaching, preserve it after hearing it, recite it after preserving it, teach it after reciting it, copy it after teaching it, and enable others to copy, respect, honor, praise, and pay homage to the Lotus Sutra. Thereupon the Bhagavat, wanting to elaborate on the meaning of this further, spoke these verses. If anyone wants to teach this sutra, he should get rid of jealousy, anger, pride, flattery, deceitfulness, and falsity. He should always practice honest conduct, He should not slander others, nor make up fallacies about the Dharma, nor should he cause others to be doubtful by saying, "You will not become a Buddha." This heir of the Buddha who teaches the Dharma should always be gentle, patient, and compassionate to all. He should never have lazy thoughts. He should respect the great bodhisattvas in the 10 directions who practice the path out of their compassion for sentient beings, and think that they are his great teachers. He should think that all the Buddha Bhagavats are the most excellent fathers. Destroying arrogance, he should teach the Dharma without obstructions. The third sphere of the teaching of ease in practice is like this. The wise should preserve it. Those who practice wholeheartedly and at ease will be honored by innumerable sentient beings. Furthermore, O Manjushri, in the future world, when the Dharma is to be extinguished, any bodhisattva mahasattva who preserves this Lotus Sutra will awaken the thought of great kindness towards lay Buddhists and renunciants, and also awaken the thought of great compassion toward non-bodhisattvas. He should think, people like these have really missed the Tathagata's teaching of the Dharma according to their capacities through skillful means. They do not hear, know, or realize it. They do not ask, believe, or understand. Those people do not even ask questions about this sutra, believe it, or understand it. When I attain highest complete enlightenment, wherever I am, I will lead them and enable them to abide in this teaching through my transcendent powers and power of wisdom. O Manjushri, after the Tathagata's parinirvana, this Bodhisattva Mahasattva, who has perfected the fourth sphere of the teaching of ease in practice, will be faultless when he teaches this Dharma. He will always be paid homage to, respected, honored, and praised by monks, nuns, laymen, laywomen, kings, princes, ministers, commoners, Brahmins, and householders. The devas in the sky will always accompany him in order to hear the Dharma. If he is in a village, city, secluded spot, or forest, and the people want to come and ask difficult questions, the devas will protect him both day and night, always for the sake of the Dharma, and he will cause all of those who listen to him to rejoice. Why is this? Because this sutra is preserved through the transcendent powers of all the Buddhas of past, present, and future. O Manjushri, even the title of this Lotus Sutra cannot be heard in incalculable lands. How much more is it unable to be seen, accepted, preserved, and recited? Why is this? Because only the noble emperor has this precious jewel in his topknot. If the emperor gives it away, his attendants would certainly be very surprised and mistrustful. O Manjushri, the Tathagata is exactly like this. He has attained the land of the Dharma through his powers of concentration and wisdom. Thus he has become the king of the triple world. Since the Mara kings will not obey him, the wise and noble generals of the Tathagata come to do battle with them. The Tathagata rejoices at the meritorious ones and teaches various sutras to the fourfold assembly, gladdening them. He bestows upon them the property of all the teachings about concentrations, liberations, faculties without corruption, and powers. He also bestows upon them the city of Nirvana. Saying that they have attained Nirvana, he leads their minds onwards and gladdens them all. And yet he does not teach them the Lotus Sutra. O Manjushri, it is just as if the noble emperor finally gives the jewel that has been long concealed in his topknot. Although he perceived the great merit of those soldiers, and was deeply pleased, he did not rashly give them the marvelous jewel. The Tathagata is also exactly like this. Since he is the great king of the Dharma and the triple world, he inspires all the sentient beings through the Dharma. When he sees the wise and noble soldiers who have done battle with the Mara of the five aggregates, the Mara of desires and the Mara of death, who have great merit in battle and have extinguished the three poisons, left the triple world and broken out of Mara's net, he then rejoices greatly. He now teaches the Lotus Sutra, which is treated with hostility by the entire world and is difficult to believe in, and which he has never taught before, and enables sentient beings to attain omniscience. O Manjushri, this Lotus Sutra is the ultimate teaching of all the Tathagatas, the most profound among all the teachings, and conferred at the very end. It was in the same way that the very powerful and noble emperor gave the jewel after having preserved it for a long time. O Manjushri, this Lotus Sutra is the secret treasure house of all the Buddha Tathagatas, and the foremost among all the sutras. The Buddha has preserved it for a long time, and he has not taught it indiscriminately. Now, for the first time, he teaches it. At that time, the Bhagavat, wanting to elaborate on the meaning of this further, spoke these verses. Always practice patience and be compassionate toward all, since only then can one expound a sutra praised by the Buddha. In the future, those who preserve this sutra should be compassionate and kind toward lay Buddhists, renunciants, and non-bodhisattvas, saying, those who have not heard this sutra, or who do not believe in it, have consequently lost a great opportunity. When I attain the Buddha path, I will expound this teaching through various skillful means, and enable them to abide in it. Suppose there was a powerful, noble emperor who bestows upon those soldiers meritorious in battle various gifts of elephants, horses, chariots, conveyances, ornaments, estates, villages, cities, garments, various treasures, servants, and wealth. He gives these gifts with joy. If there is anyone who has been brave and has performed difficult deeds, the noble emperor gives the precious jewel in his topknot. The Tathagata is exactly like this. He is the emperor of all the teachings. Out of his great compassion, and through his treasury of wisdom and great power of patience, he inspires the world according to the Dharma. Seeing all the sentient beings suffering, seeking liberation, and doing battle with the Maras, he explains various teachings for the beings, and teaches various sutras with his great skillful means. Knowing that the sentient beings have finally attained the power to understand, he teaches this Lotus Sutra only at the very end, just like the noble emperor who gave the jewel in his topknot. This sutra is the utmost, superior to all the sutras. I have constantly preserved it and have not revealed it indiscriminately. Now is the right time to teach it to you. After my parinirvana, those seeking the Buddha path who want to attain ease and expound this sutra should become familiar with these 4 spheres of the teaching concerning ease in practice. Those who recite this sutra will always be free from anxiety and illness, and will have a noble countenance. They will not be born into poverty, lowliness, or ugliness. Sentient beings will want to meet them, just as they long to meet a wise seer, and all of the Devaputras will serve them. Sticks and swords cannot hurt them, and poison cannot harm them. If people slander them, those slanderers' mouths will be sealed up. They will travel fearlessly like a lion king, and the light of their wisdom will illuminate just like the sun. If they dream, they see only subtle things. They see the Tathagatas seated on lion seats, teaching the Dharma to the assembly of monks surrounding them. They see Nagas and Asuras, as numerous as the sands of the Ganges River. Honoring the Tathagatas with their palms pressed together, revealing themselves, they teach the Dharma to these beings. They also see the Buddhas with golden bodies emitting immeasurable rays of light which illuminate universally, and expounding various teachings with beautiful voices like Brahmas. To the fourfold assembly, the Buddha teaches the highest Dharma. Revealing themselves among them, they praise the Buddha with palms pressed together. Hearing the Dharma, they rejoice and pay homage to the Buddha. They attain the power of recollection and achieve the wisdom of non-retrogression. The Buddha, knowing their minds, and that they have deeply entered the Buddha path, gives them a prediction of the highest complete enlightenment, saying, O son of a virtuous family, in the future you will attain immeasurable wisdom and the great path of the Buddha. Your land will be pure and vast beyond all comparison. The fourfold assembly will also be there, listening to the Dharma with their palms pressed together. They who recite this sutra also see themselves in mountain forests, practicing excellent teachings, experiencing the real aspect, deeply entering into concentration, and looking at the Buddhas in the 10 directions, all of whom have golden bodies adorned with 100 auspicious marks. They will always have such pleasant dreams, and hearing the Dharma taught, they will teach it to others. They will also dream about becoming the king of a realm who abandons his palace and retinue and the highly pleasing desires of the 5 senses, approaches the terrace of enlightenment, sits on the lion seat under the Bodhi tree, attains the wisdom of all the Buddhas after seeking the path for 7 days, and who, arising, turns the wheel of the Dharma after having attained the highest path. They will teach the Dharma to the fourfold assembly for thousands of myriads of kotis of kalpas. Explaining the true and incorruptible Dharma, they will save innumerable sentient beings. Later, they will enter nirvana, just as smoke dies away when the flame of a candle is extinguished. If anyone in the troubled world to come teaches this highest Dharma, they will attain great benefits, like the merits mentioned above. Chapter 15. Bodhisattvas emerging from the earth. At that time, the Bodhisattva Mahasattvas, who had arrived from other lands and whose number exceeded that of the sands of 8 Ganges rivers, stood up in the great assembly, bowed with their palms pressed together, and then spoke to the Buddha, saying, O Bhagavat, if you give us permission to diligently strive to preserve, recite, copy, and pay homage to this Lotus Sutra after the parinirvana of the Buddha in this Saha world, then we will extensively teach it in this land. Then the Buddha addressed the assembly of Bodhisattva Mahasattvas, saying, Enough, O sons of a virtuous family. There is no need for you to preserve this sutra. Why is this? In my Saha world, there are bodhisattva mahasattvas equal to the sands of 60,000 Ganges rivers in number, and each of these bodhisattvas, in turn, has a retinue equal to the sands of 60,000 Ganges rivers. After my parinirvana, they can preserve, recite, and extensively teach this sutra. When the Buddha said this, all the lands of the great manifold cosmos in the Saha world quaked, and the earth split. From out of this crevice there simultaneously appeared incalculable thousands of myriads of kotis of bodhisattva mahasattvas. All of these bodhisattvas had golden bodies, endowed with the 32 marks, and radiating immeasurable rays of light. They had all previously been living in the space under the earth of the Saha world. Having heard the sound of Shakyamuni's teaching, all of these bodhisattvas emerged from below. Each of those bodhisattvas presided over a great assembly, and each led a retinue equal to the sands of 60,000 Ganges rivers in number. How much more numerous were the bodhisattvas who emerged leading retinues equal in number to the sands of 50,000, 40,000, 30,000, 20,000, or 10,000 Ganges rivers? How much more numerous were the bodhisattvas who emerged leading retinues even equal to the sands of 1 Ganges river, half a Ganges river, a quarter of a Ganges river, or even just 1,000th of a myriad of a koti of a nayuta of the sands of a Ganges river? How many more retinues were there, numbering thousands of myriads of kotis of nayutas? How many more retinues were there, numbering myriads of kotis? How many more were those numbering 10 million, 1 million, or even 10,000? How many more were those numbering 1,000, 100, or even 10? How much more numerous were bodhisattvas leading disciples numbering 5, 4, 3, 2, or even 1? And how many more bodhisattvas were there who had eagerly practiced alone and far from the worldly life? The number of such bodhisattvas as these is incalculable and limitless, beyond all calculation and metaphor. Having emerged from the earth, each of these bodhisattvas approached the Tathagatas Prabhutaratna and Sakyamuni, still seated in the beautiful 7-jeweled stupa in the air. Going up to them, they bowed until their foreheads touched the feet of both Bhagavats. Then, having bowed to the other Buddhas, each sitting on a lion seat under the jeweled trees, they circumambulated them to the right 3 times, honoring them with their palms pressed together. Having praised them with various bodhisattva eulogies, they withdrew to one side and joyfully gazed at the 2 Bhagavats. All these bodhisattva mahasattvas, having emerged from the earth, praised the Buddhas with various bodhisattva eulogies. While they did, 50 intermediate kalpas passed. During this time, the Buddha Shakyamuni sat in silence, and the 4-fold assemblies were also silent, while the 50 intermediate kalpas passed. Because of the Buddha's transcendent powers, the great assemblies believed that the time that had passed was only half a day. Then, through the transcendent powers of the Buddha, the 4-fold assemblies also saw the bodhisattvas filling the air throughout immeasurable hundreds of thousands of myriads of kotis of lands. There were 4 leaders among those bodhisattvas gathered there. They were called Visista Charitra, Anantra Charitra, Visuddha Charitra, and Supratistita Charitra. At the head of the great assembly, each pressed their palms together, gazed at Shakyamuni Buddha and inquired of him, saying, O Bhagavat, are you without illness or pain? Are you at ease in practice or not? Do those who should be saved accept your teaching easily or not? Do they not make you weary, O Bhagavat? Thereupon the four great bodhisattvas spoke these verses. O Bhagavat, are you at ease? Are you without illness or pain? Are you fatigued with leading and inspiring sentient beings? Do the sentient beings accept your guidance easily or not? Do they not tire the Bhagavat? At that time, the Bhagavat spoke to the great assembly of bodhisattvas, saying, It is exactly like this, O sons of a virtuous family. It is exactly so. The Tathagata is at ease and without illness or pain. It is easy to save sentient beings, and I am not fatigued. Why is this? Because sentient beings have continually received my guidance throughout many lives, and they have also planted roots of good merit by revering and honoring the Buddhas of the past. When these sentient beings first saw me and heard my teaching, all, except for those who had previously practiced and studied the inferior vehicle, immediately believed and accepted it and entered the Tathagata's wisdom. Now I enable even such people as these to listen to this sutra and enter the Buddha's wisdom. Then the great bodhisattvas spoke these verses. Splendid, splendid, O Bhagavat, great hero. All the sentient beings can easily be brought to the path. They can ask about the profound wisdom of the Buddhas. Hearing about it, they trust and accept it. We rejoice about this. At that time, the Bhagavat praised the foremost of the great bodhisattvas, saying, Splendid, splendid, O sons of virtuous family. Thoughts of joy regarding the Tathagata have awakened in you. Then Bodhisattva Maitreya and his assembly of bodhisattvas, equal in number to the sands of 8,000 Ganges rivers, thought this. Looking far into the past, we have never seen or heard of such an assembly of great bodhisattva mahasattvas who have now emerged from the earth and are standing before the Bhagavat with their palms pressed together in reverence, asking the Tathagata questions. When Bodhisattva Mahasattva Maitreya, knowing the minds of the bodhisattvas whose number was equal to the sands of 8,000 Ganges rivers, and wanting to clear up their confusion, faced the Buddha with the palms of his hands pressed together, and addressed him in verse, saying, We have never seen such a great assembly of incalculable thousands of myriads of kotis of bodhisattvas before. We entreat you, O best of humans, to explain it to us. Where have they come from? For what reason have they gathered here? They look magnificent and have great transcendent powers. Their wisdom is beyond our comprehension. They are firm in their resolve, have the power of great perseverance and an appearance that sentient beings desire to see. Where have they come from? Each of these bodhisattvas is leading a retinue whose number is incalculable, like the sands of the Ganges River. Some great bodhisattvas are leading retinues equal in number to the sands of 60,000 Ganges rivers. Great are the assemblies, single-mindedly seeking the Buddha path. These great leaders, equal in number to the sands of 60,000 Ganges rivers, have come all together to pay homage to the Buddha and preserve this sutra. The number of bodhisattvas leading retinues equal in number to the sands of 50,000 Ganges rivers is even greater, and the number of bodhisattvas who lead retinues equal in number to the sands of 40,000, 30,000, 20,000, 10,000, 1,000, 100, even 1, 1/2, 1/3, 1/4, 1/myriadth of a koti of the sands of a Ganges river exceeds even these. There are disciples who number thousands of myriads of nayutas, myriads of kotis, or even half a koti. Their numbers also exceed that mentioned above. There are disciples in retinues of 1 million, 10,000, 1,000, 100, 50, 10, even 3, 2, or 1 in number. There are also great bodhisattvas who have come without retinues, desiring to be in solitude. The number of those who have come before the Buddha is far beyond any calculation. If anyone counted the number of such a great assembly with bamboo counting sticks, he would not finish, even after exhausting kalpas greater in number than the sands of the Ganges river. Who has taught the Dharma to this assembly of bodhisattvas endowed with great dignity and perseverance? Who has inspired and perfected them? Under whom did the thought of enlightenment first awaken in them? Which Buddha Dharma do they praise? Whose sutra have they preserved and practiced, and which Buddha path have they followed? Such bodhisattvas as these, endowed with transcendent powers and the power of great wisdom, have all emerged out of the earth, which quaked in the 4 directions and split asunder. O Bhagavat, we have never seen such a thing before. We entreat you to tell us the name of the land from where they have come. We have been constantly traveling in various regions. Nevertheless, we have never seen such a thing before. We do not know even a single person in this assembly. All of a sudden, they have emerged from the earth. We entreat you to explain the reason why. All of the immeasurable hundreds of thousands of kotis in this great assembly now wish to know about this matter. There must be underlying causes for this to explain all of these bodhisattvas. O Bhagavat, he of immeasurable qualities, we entreat you to clear up the confusion of the assembly. Thereupon, the Buddhas who were the magically created forms of Shakyamuni Buddha arrived from other incalculable thousands of myriads of kotis of lands, and sat cross-legged on lion seats under the jeweled trees in the 8 directions. Each attendant of these Buddhas had seen the great assembly of bodhisattvas as they emerged from out of the earth and floated in mid-air in the 4 directions of the great manifold cosmos. Each of them addressed his Buddha, saying, O Bhagavat, where has this great assembly of immeasurable, limitless, incalculable bodhisattvas come from? Then the Buddhas answered their attendant, saying, O sons of a virtuous family, wait a moment. There is a bodhisattva, Mahasattva, called Maitreya, who has received a prediction from Buddha Shakyamuni that he will become a Buddha after Shakyamuni in the future. Since he has already asked about this, the Buddha will now answer him. You shall be able to hear the reason yourselves. Then the Buddha Shakyamuni addressed Bodhisattva Maitreya, saying, Splendid, splendid, O Ajita. You have asked the Buddha an important question. You should all single-mindedly don the armor of perseverance and be of firm will. The Tathagata now wants to reveal the wisdom of the Buddhas, the inherent transcendent powers of the Buddhas, the lion-like dignified power of the Buddhas, the majestic and mighty power of the Buddhas. Thereupon the Bhagavat, wanting to elaborate on the meaning of this further, spoke these verses. You should be persistent and wholeheartedly attentive, for I want to explain it to you. Do not have any doubts, for the wisdom of the Buddha is difficult to comprehend. You should now awaken the power of faith, and with perseverance abide in the good. Now you will all be able to hear what you have never heard before. I will now put you at ease. Have no doubts or fear. The Buddha never speaks false words. His wisdom is immeasurable. You should now awaken the power of faith, and with perseverance abide in the good. Now you will all be able to hear what you have never heard before. I will now put you at ease. Have no doubts or fear. The Buddha never speaks false words. His wisdom is immeasurable. The foremost Dharma that he has attained is profound and difficult to explain. I will now expound this difficult teaching, so you should listen wholeheartedly. Then the Bhagavat, after speaking these verses, addressed Bodhisattva Maitreya, saying, I will now proclaim it to you all in this assembly. O Ajita, all of you have never seen these immeasurable, innumerable, incalculable great Bodhisattva Mahasattvas who have emerged from out of the earth. Having attained highest complete enlightenment in this Saha world, I led, inspired, and instructed these Bodhisattvas, restrained their thoughts, and caused the thought of the path to awaken in them. When these Bodhisattvas lived in the space under the earth of this Saha world, they recited various sutras, became well versed in them, and contemplated, analyzed, and correctly remembered them. O Ajita, all these sons of a virtuous family did not wish to be among the multitude where there is always much discussion. They always wanted to be in quiet places. They diligently strove without resting or relying on devas or humans. They always desired the profound wisdom without obstructions. They always wanted the Dharma of the Buddhas. They strove wholeheartedly in seeking the highest wisdom. At that time, the Bhagavat, wanting to elaborate on the meaning of this further, spoke these verses. O Ajita, you should know that of all these great bodhisattvas, that all of these great bodhisattvas have practiced the wisdom of the Buddha for innumerable kalpas. They have all been inspired by me, and the thought of the great path has awakened in them. They are my heirs, abiding in this world. Yet, for the sake of the Buddha path, this great assembly of bodhisattvas has been diligently striving for innumerable thousands of myriads of kotis of kalpas. They have skillfully entered, abided in, and emerged from immeasurable thousands of myriads of kotis of samadhis. They have attained great transcendent powers and practiced the pure path of discipline and integrity for a long time. They have gradually and ably practiced wholesome teachings and are skilled at discussions. They are jewels among humans and a great rarity in the entire world. Today the Bhagavat has correctly said that after he attained the path of the Buddha, he caused the thought of enlightenment to awaken in the bodhisattvas for the first time. He then led, inspired, and instructed them to approach highest complete enlightenment. O Bhagavat, although it has not been so long since you attained Buddhahood, yet you have really done these great meritorious acts. We believe the Buddha's words, spoken according to our capacities, and that what he says is never false. We are all well versed in the Buddha's knowledge. However, if the bodhisattvas in whom the thought of enlightenment has recently awakened hear this after the Buddha's parinirvana, they will not accept it, and this will bring about conditions for erring deeds that destroy the Dharma. That is why, O Bhagavat, we entreat you to explain it to us and remove our doubts. Moreover, in the future, when the sons of a virtuous family hear this, they will also be free from doubt." Thereupon, Bodhisattva Maitreya, wanting to elaborate upon the meaning of this further, spoke these verses. "Long ago the Buddha left the household of the Sakya clan and approached Gaya, where he sat under the Bodhi tree. It has not been so long since that time. The number of the Buddha's heirs is incalculable. From long ago they have practiced the Buddha path and attained transcendent powers and the power of wisdom. They have thoroughly studied the Bodhisattva path and are as undefiled by worldly affairs as the lotus blossom in the water. They have emerged from out of the earth and all stood respectfully before the Bhagavats. It is difficult to comprehend this matter. How can we possibly believe it? The Buddha attained the path only a short time ago, yet he has accomplished so much. We entreat you to remove our doubts and give a detailed explanation according to the truth. Suppose there were a young man, just 25 years of age, who pointed to a 100-year-old man who was wrinkled and had white hair, saying, 'This is my offspring.' The old man also says, 'This is my father.' The father is young, and the son is old. No one in the world would believe it. The Bhagavat's teaching is exactly like this. He attained the path only a very short time ago. Yet these bodhisattvas are firm in resolution and without weak will. They have been practicing the bodhisattva path for immeasurable kalpas. They are skilled at difficult discussions, and their minds are free from fear. They are resolute and persevering. They are handsome and dignified, praised by the Buddhas in the 10 directions. They are good at detailed explanations. They did not want to be among the multitudes, for they always liked being in meditation, and so they lived in the space under the earth in order to seek the Buddha path. Since we heard about this from the Buddha, we have no doubts about it. But still we entreat you, O Buddha, to expound it and make it clear for the future. Anyone in whom doubts awaken, and who does not believe in this sutra, will certainly fall into the troubled states of being. That is why we now entreat you to explain how in such a short time you have led and inspired these innumerable bodhisattvas, so that the thought of enlightenment has awakened in them, and they abide in the stage of non-retrogression. Using skillful means, I have manifested the state of nirvana to bring sentient beings to this path. Yet I have not actually entered nirvana, but continually abide here expounding the Dharma. Although I am always among these erring beings, with my transcendent powers, I prevent them from seeing me. These sentient beings, seeing me enter perfect extinction, earnestly revere my relics, and filled with longing, yearn for me. When the sentient beings become sincere, mild, and receptive, and wanting wholeheartedly to meet the Buddha, are willing to give unsparingly of their bodies and lives, then I, together with the Sangha, will appear on Mount Gridakuta. I will declare this to sentient beings. Although I am always here without extinction through the power of skillful means, I manifest extinction and non-extinction. If there are any sentient beings in other worlds who respect and believe in me, I will also teach them the highest Dharma. Not knowing this, you only think that I have entered parinirvana. I see all sentient beings submerged in the ocean of suffering. That is why, by not manifesting my form, I cause them to yearn for me. Then, after awakening this longing, I appear and expound the Dharma. Such are my transcendent powers. For innumerable kalpas I have constantly resided on Mount Gridakutta and elsewhere. When sentient beings see themselves amidst a conflagration at the end of a kalpa, it is in fact my tranquil land, always full of devas and humans. All the gardens and palaces are adorned with various gems. The jeweled trees abound with flowers and fruits, and the sentient beings are joyful among them. The devas beat heavenly drums, making constant and varied music. They rain down mandarava flowers upon the Buddha and the great assembly. Although my pure land never decays, the sentient beings see it as ravaged by fire and torn with anxiety and distress. They believe it is filled with these things because of their misdeeds. These erring sentient beings do not hear the name of the three treasures for incalculable kalpas. But all who cultivate merit and are receptive and honest will see me residing here, expounding the Dharma. For the sake of these sentient beings, I teach that the lifespan of the Buddha is immeasurable. To those who, after a long time, finally see the Buddha, I teach that it is difficult to meet him. Such is the power of my wisdom. The light of my wisdom illuminates immeasurably, and my lifespan is of innumerable kalpas. This has been achieved through long practice. You wise ones, do not give in to doubt. Banish all doubt forever. The Buddha's words are true, never false. It is like the physician who proclaimed his own death, although it was untrue. He did this to cure his delirious sons through excellent skillful means, so no one could say he really spoke falsehood.